Hi, everyone. Welcome to Community Bookstore's virtual event series. My name is Stephanie Valdez, and I'm the store owner. Community Bookstore is celebrating over 50 years in business, and we credit the continued support of readers and writers for this milestone. Thank you for spending the evening with us. I'm thrilled today to welcome Amelia Kahaney for the release of her new novel, All the Best Liars. She'll be in conversation with Francesca Padilla and with a special book tale demonstration from Lindsey Merbaum. Now to some housekeeping. We've enabled Zoom's auto transcribe setting. So if your version of Zoom is up to date, hit the live transcription button at the bottom of your screen to enable closed captions. If you have any questions for tonight's guests, please click on the Q&A button also at the bottom of your screen to submit them. We'll be asking those at the end of the program, so don't be shy. There's also a chat box through which I'll be posting a link to buy tonight's book if you haven't already. We also have a great lineup of events planned for you this spring, so you can head to our website, communitybookstore.net, or sign up for our newsletter to stay up to date. Next Tuesday, April 12th, we'll be welcoming Annie Hartnett for Unlikely Animals. That program is up on our website. So now a little bit about tonight's guests, and we'll get started. Amelia Kahaney is the author of the Broken Hearted series. Her short fiction has appeared in Best American Non-Required Reading, One Story, and Crazy Horse, among other publications. She teaches writing in New York City, where she lives with her husband and son. Francesca Padilla is a queer Dominican-American fiction writer born and raised in New York City and currently based out of Rochester, New York. She is a past recipient of a Walter D. Myers grant from We Need Diverse Books. Her debut young adult novel, What's Coming to Me, is forthcoming from Soho Teen on August 2nd, 2022. I'll put the link to that one in the chat too. Lindsey Merbaum is a witchy writer and high priestess of home mixology, crafting cocktails inspired by the moods and themes of contemporary reads. Her essays, reviews, and interviews and booktail recipes have appeared in Electric Literature, Bustle, LA Review of Books, and more. Released in the fall of 2021 from Creature Publishing, her experimental queer feminist horror novel, The Gold Persimmon, is a Forward Indies finalist. You can follow her at lmerbaum.com. If you'd like to purchase a copy of All the Best Liars, Amelia will come by and sign it for you. I'll put the link in the chat in a few minutes. And now I will turn it over to Lindsey for our book tale demonstration.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And hi, everybody. It's such an honor to be here to celebrate All the Best Liars. I'm going to demo a delicious book tale for you, which I designed specifically for this book. And hopefully we all have a tolerance for caffeine in the evening for this. There's going to be some caffeine in it. So first things first, I'm going to go over what materials you're going to need for this. I'm going to move my camera so you can see what my hands are doing. Okay, so you're going to need a shaker, including with a strainer. If you don't have a shaker at home, a glass jar is a perfect substitute for that. You're also going to need some ice, preferably a large cube of ice. The reason for that is that small cubes over dilute your drink. So we want to watch out for that. You'll need some kind of strainer. This is for our matcha powder that we're going to be using. And either a coupe glass or a martini glass, like so. I've already measured out my ingredients, but I'll tell you what they are. We're going to be working with vanilla vodka tonight, gunpowder green tea, some simple syrup, homemade. It's really just boiling sugar and water. It's very simple. And also some unsweetened almond milk, unsweetened because we don't want to add too much sugar to our drink. And then our garnish, which ties everything together, is going to be some matcha powder. Really fun. Now, if you are making a mocktail instead of a cocktail tonight, you're still going to need the gunpowder green tea. You're still going to need the almond milk and the simple syrup, but you're going to substitute an ounce of cream with a quarter teaspoon of vanilla extract to compensate for the vodka. And I'll go over that again in a minute. Okay, so our first step is quite simple. We're going to add our ice to our shaker. Or again, if you don't have a shaker, a glass jar works really well. And also the lid can be used as a strainer. I admit I made do with that for some years before I finally got a proper shaker. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our gunpowder green tea. Now, obviously this tea is not hot. We would not want to add a super hot drink to our icy beverage. So I recommend making your tea in advance. What I do is I just make a cup of it and I let it sit and steep until it's completely cool. And then I put it in a jar in my fridge, which also means that any leftover tea is still there for additional drinks later. I'm going to add that in, and we're going to do 1 ounce of the green tea. And next, we're going to do 1.5 ounces of our vanilla vodka. I'm adding vanilla vodka for Brie because she always smells like vanilla, and also because she loves those vodka crayons. The gunpowder green tea is for Sid, who drinks green tea at work after she's upset about something and then later nurses a broken heart with her chamomile. Next, we're going to add 1 ounce of unsweetened almond milk. The almond milk is, of course, a nod to California, where a lot of almonds are grown, despite the fact that California has drought and almonds need a lot of water. It's also a nod to Rain for her favorite milky white Russians, which are pretty delicious. So again, we're going to add 1 ounce of unsweetened almond milk. And next I'm going to add 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, which again, you can make at home just by boiling sugar and water. The ratio is 1:1. So 1 cup sugar, 1 cup water. I just bring it to a boil, let it kind of simmer for about 5 minutes and then done. And you have that in your fridge. I'm including simple syrup because we need a little bit of sweetener in this, but also for all the many sugary references in this book. There's Skittles, Charleston Chews, congealed candy corn, boba, and of course that welcome home cake for Spider. Okay, so I'm adding that in. And again, that's 1/2 ounce, so just a little bit. And now here comes the fun part. I'm going to shake the drink. Goal here is to shake it until it's frothy. So as you shake, you'll feel the shaker turning a bit colder, and you can listen for the ice to break up a little bit, and that will tell you that you're getting some good froth. Ideal for frothiness, we would shake for like a minute, but I don't think you guys want to listen to this clatter for a full minute. So give you a taste of that. Okay, excellent. Now what we're going to do is we're going to strain some of this into our glass. I say strain because we don't want our ice to just dump in there. And this is not a drink that we're serving with ice, but if you are serving ice with your drink, meaning there's going to be ice in the glass, you want to use separate ice for that, not the same ice that you used in your shaker, because that would be over diluted. And we're going to pour it in. All right. And now here comes the really fun part. So to get the matcha on top of our drink as our really essential garnish here, because the matcha has this bitterness to it that's going to help bring out some of the other flavors here, we're going to use a little strainer, barista style, and just gently put some of the matcha in there so it just kind of gets on top of the drink, but really fine, not too thick. You see that beautiful green? Okay. And now comes the most important part, which is the taste testing. That is so good. So what's really nice about this drink is that it's actually quite simple. These ingredients are, pretty easy to come by. And you can really taste vanilla, but you can also taste the matcha and the green tea. And so each flavor kind of gets its own chance to shine, but all together they create something really, really delicious. And I will say they go down pretty easy, so watch out. Now, again, if you're gonna make a mocktail version, instead of using vodka, we would use 1 ounce of cream and a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, just to get that same vanilla flavor, and the cream helps us get that same mouthfeel. And honestly, both are super delicious. I recommend trying it either way, whether you consume alcohol or not. So now I just like to say, cheers to Amelia and to your amazing book. I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm so thrilled that we can cheers to you through the power of Zoom. And so congratulations and thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you
Cheers.
so much. Cheers. Thank you so much. Oh, it's so fantastic. Thank you, Lindsey. This is it does go down easy. It's wonderful. Thanks for the demo. And thanks for making a special drink for all the best liars. I'm Amelia Kahaney. Thank you all for coming. It means the world to me to be sharing this day with all of you. Zoom in some ways is less immediate, less personal, but this way I get to be with my West Coast family, my friends and family in Texas, and all you New Yorkers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Fran, thank you so much for being here. Francesca and I are going to talk a little bit about All the Best Liars. But first, I'm going to read a very short segment, just the prologue. Hopefully it gives you a little taste of the book. Yeah, nothing to prepare you for because it's the beginning. Tic-tac-toe, 3 girls in a row, 9 years old and inseparable. Sydney, Rain, and Brianna. Friends for life, or so they think. They squat in Sid's driveway, dusty feet sandaled against the flame-hot concrete, heads bent to study the thing Rain trapped under the jelly jar. It's an electric blue beetle the size of a thumb, a tropical shock against the putty of the desert with bits of gold at the legs. How pretty, breathes Sid. She's a freckled shrimp, her nose and shoulders incessantly peeling, new pink skin always emerging underneath the old. She squints at the bug's aquamarine shell and thinks longingly of the swimming pools behind all the big houses down the highway in Palm Springs. So tropical. It is 102 degrees at 8 p.m. The brutal sun just now starting to dip behind the ring of boulder-studded mountains that circle the desert cities. A pocket knife-sized gray lizard darts out of the shade of the antelope brush that lines their street, blinks at the girls, then reconsiders and retreats. The girls ignore the phlegmy whine of Brie's hated pit bull mix, Spanky, who rubs his flank along the chain link fence and kicks up dust in her bald yard 3 houses over. Rain sits back on her heels and gives the other 2 a one-eyed squint. Her teeth crowd her mouth in a way that pushes out her lips so that from one angle, she looks a little like a horse. And from another, even though she's just turned 10, she looks like someone out of the tattered old September Vogue the girls all share. Rain's limbs are long and deeply sun-browned, her arms awkward branches sprouting from a sagging red tube top, her wild snarl of hair flung over half her face. Pretty, but in a scary way, Rain pronounces. All of Rain's thoughts she shares confidently, convincingly, as if they're great truths the girls all need to hear. Look at the antennas, says Brie. She scrapes the jar slowly over the cracks of Sid's driveway, forcing the beetle to move too. Then she lowers her face close to the jar, her own white-tipped lashes almost touching it. She's got Betty Boop lashes. And indeed, the beetle does. 3 swoopy black points on each side. Brie is dressed weird, wearing one of the ugly old-fashioned dresses with a big bow on the chest that her dad keeps cluelessly buying her. But the other girls don't say anything about it. Hard enough to live with a dad like Ed, they figure. And there's no point in making Brie even more self-conscious. We should let it go, Sid says. She can hear her mother moving around in the house, a pot banging onto the stove for mac and cheese. But when she lifts the jar, the beetle doesn't move. It's frozen, the shiniest emerald on the gray concrete, surrounded by the browns and beiges of the high desert, the junked cars, and the beat-up aluminum siding of their crappy neighborhood. A thing too jeweled, too audacious to exist here among them. It's dead, Rain declares, voice flat. She waits a beat. I'm gonna keep it. Rain's long fingers scoop the bug up, cradle it like something precious. The other girls want it too, but nobody fights her. Rain always gets her way. The other 2 swallow their longing until it dissolves into something else, a kind of not caring that helps make being second and third easier. It's been that way between them for a long time, even after everything starts to fall apart, until everything shifts and a new hierarchy stacks up. What the three of them will remember most about their time together in the Dead Dog Hills of Termico, California, is brightness and heat and the feeling of being trapped in it, confined under the dome of an invisible glass. Because the desert is a place where you bide your time, trapped and roasting, skittering uselessly until you grow listless. It's a place you're supposed to retire to, a climate for those who have already lived their lives, dreams long since given up. Anyone young, anyone with any sense would want to leave. And eventually all of them will, but it won't happen the way they want it to. One will do it by dying, another by lying, a third by taking the fall. Rain pinches the beetle between her fingers and stands up, her knees coated in dust. Dumb bug, she says to it, a smirk alighting and then vanishing from her brazen mouth. The metallic blue of the dead bug's armor glows in her hand. You should have dug your way out. That's it. That's the prologue. Thanks for listening. So now Francesca and I are going to talk a little bit about All the Best Liars. But first, Francesca, should we talk about how we met?
Yes.
Okay. So Francesca and I met many years ago, maybe 8 years ago, we decided. What?
Eight, yeah.
Eight years ago. She took a class a workshop that I was leading through Sackett Street Writers. And I read a very early version of her first novel, which is now coming out in July, called What's Coming to Me with Soho Teen, right?
Yeah.
So I just thought it would be really fun to share this day with her. Thank you for doing this, Fran.
Yes. It's my pleasure. I really love the book. It was a joy. It was a joy. Yeah, so should we just jump right into it?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So my questions are very much reader oriented, not writer oriented. Because I just inhaled it. And so so some of them might be a little expected, but it's just like stuff that I genuinely wanted to know. Okay, so firstly, I wanted to know, so there's so much going on in this book. There's so many different angles. There's female friendship, girls, there's haves and have-nots. There's that tension with 2 out of the 3 best friends getting money, which I thought was really, really, really interesting. And then leaving the third behind. There's first love. There's just everything. And so
and death.
Yes, of course. Like that, the mystery, the money, the friendships, like the setting. Like, so what inspired you out of like all those things that has going on? What inspired you to write the book? Like, was it flashes of those things? Was it like one specific thing that got you? Tell us about it.
That is a great question. I really wanted to try to write a mystery a thriller, really. I love reading them. And this book has had such a long journey. I think I started thinking about it in 2013, pre-Trump years. Started to think about my earlier series is kind of a dystopia superhero series, young adult series. And I knew I wanted to try another young adult book. And I thought that I would like to set it in today, right, in our world. And that I would like to try to create a mystery or a thriller. And I was really searching around for inspiration. What I started doing was listening to Pure Heroine by Lord's first album. If you all know the musician Lord, I listened to it a lot. At the time, it felt really fresh and really an account of a real teen. The lyrics were really interesting and actually really class-based. There's a lot of allusions to economic anxiety, and to this idea that I think all teens and adults are now, we're all sort of stuck in it, which is this idea of watching and feeling on the outside and feeling like we're playing a part. Maybe teens have always felt like this, but I think probably once social media really took hold more than ever. So I was listening to Lorde a lot. I flew to California. I wanted to maybe try to set a book in California. That's where I'm from. And that's, to me, that's what childhood means, is California and everything about it. And I was in San Diego, where I'm from, and it's a really gentle place with very gentle weather and kind of laid back vibes. And it just wasn't doing it for me. So I went to Palm Springs. My aunt and uncle, who may be here tonight, Patty and Dave, I don't know, bought a house there, and I went there for a weekend. And I was just kind of looking around for the darker side of life a little bit. And I took a drive with my cousin Alana. I'm not sure if she's on here tonight. And we went to a place called the Salton Sea, which is a giant lake in the middle of the desert that never should have existed. And everything in it, I didn't know this before I got there, everything in it is dead, and everything around it is semi-contaminated. So once we got there, there were dead fish floating everywhere, dead birds, distended stomachs. And for miles of the drive from Palm Springs to the Salton Sea, the tourist facade of those nice cities fell away, and everything started to look like it was in trouble. And that was really the spark for me. That's what kind of gave me the idea to think about girls kind of stuck outside, maybe looking in to, or maybe even going to school in a nicer place than where they lived. Yeah, that's a long answer, but that's what started it off. The very first scenes that I wrote had to do with the Lorde album and had to do with really finding this sense of place in this town that I called Termico.
Yeah, and you write about place. That's one of my favorite things about the book, is the way you write about Termico and Palm Springs. I love things that take place, like stories that take place in like LA, because I've never been there. And I just, I'm from Brooklyn, and I'd never, like, it just seems so exotic to me. And so it really fulfilled that, like, like Joan Didion, like, and it's so beautifully written. It's just, yeah. And I had another question that it escaped me, but well, actually, one thing that I wanted to bring up was because just now you mentioned adults and teens, and like the tension there. One thing that I noticed that the book does that other books don't, that I haven't really seen so much done, is the economic anxiety between mother and daughter, and how the daughters sort of stepped in and became surrogate partners almost with the mom. So like, how did you, like, I'm not even sure if there's a question. I just wanted to like marvel at your ability to do that.
Thank you. I'm so glad you noticed that. I think we see that. So the book is narrated by three girls, Rain, Sydney or Sid, and Brie. And they all start out in the same circumstances in this hard luck place called Termico. And over time, first Brie leaves, and then Rain leaves due to some economic situations that change for them. But yeah, actually all three of the girls are children of single parents. Brie's mother has died when she's 4 or 5, and so she's with her dad. And Sydney and Rain are the daughters of single moms. And you know, we have some of that in my family, and I know that daughters and single moms are incredibly close. And I think by the time I think what I was thinking when I was thinking about their economic situation is, by the time these girls are in high school, they're old enough to sort of start shouldering the weight of what the economics mean a little bit, and what's at stake for them going forward. Yeah, that was really important to me to think about.
Yeah, I definitely saw my own life in that, my own stories. I really connected with it. And I think that was why I was so excited to meet with you 8 years ago, is because, like, of course, I read up on like what your literary writing, and I kind of related to that. I fancied myself a literary writer as well. And so I just love mother-daughter, like low income stories. And anyway, so yeah, that was just one question pretty much. So tell me, so you mentioned, I'm gonna get a little real here. So you mentioned earlier today on Instagram, I think, that you struggled writing this book. So can you tell us about that, and how you got through it? Like, we all like to know.
Yeah, sure. I started it a very long time ago. Like I said, I wrote maybe 40 pages, and I just had a real crisis of confidence, maybe in my writing altogether, and maybe also about the book, maybe also about what I was supposed to be doing, what I should be working on, what called to me, what didn't. And I put it aside for a number of years. And then I got a full-time teaching job that kept me really busy. And actually, that job I worked with primarily low-income 18-year-old students, many students in foster care, many students struggling with the court system. All of that, I think, really also helped inform the book later. Then I went back and I kind of reread the 40 pages that I had, hated. And I was like, oh, like, who wrote this? It's pretty good. And I went back to it and I wrote some more. And the book was sold on a just a partial manuscript, meaning I had about 120 pages written. And then I was under contract to finish the book, and then did a couple more drafts, and the ending was not really working out. It just wasn't right. And so that really entailed, it was my first time writing like a very plot-driven mystery. This is a very plotty book, I think, even though maybe compared to some YA, it's a little meandering, but it's kind of a plotty book, and wasn't working out. So in a mystery, of course, if the final third has to be completely changed, everything has to be changed. Everything, all the hints leading up to it, all the work you do paving the way for the story has to be changed. So I felt like I wrote the book fully 3 times over many, many years. And it was a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge. I really, toward the end, didn't know if it would ever be done. I kind of thought I would just be in Groundhog Day forever writing this book. So I still can't believe the book is done. I'm like, oh, is it time to revise it for a 4th time? But it isn't. So at least I don't think it is.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. I mean, I definitely felt like that with my book, but what you're describing sounds like a journey.
It was a journey. It's been a journey of a book, but I think that all of that made the book so much stronger. I think it's kind of rock solid where it finally landed. So I'm grateful that I had the chance in the end to kind of fix the twist and fix the 3rd part of the book.
All right. So I actually wasn't planning on asking this, but just out of pure selfish reasons, can you maybe throw out some tips? Or just because
like tips for when you're really struggling?
Yes, like tips for reading
Yes.
the story when you're trying to slog through.
Yes, I can. I would love to. My tips are to play the same song or album to kind of sink yourself back into the material. Have a song or a sound, maybe it's even white noise, but a sound that works for you, right? To sort of calm you down into it, sink into the material a little bit. Another tip is track your word count, gamify your word count, make a spreadsheet and put your daily word count on it. And even if you don't do it every day, if you do it every day, that's best. But if you can't do it every day, write it down, and you can make a little graph out of it, and you can see the numbers going up, and you can cheer yourself on that way. And then another tip that I got from a writer named Esme Wang, who
Oh yeah, I know her. Well, I know of her. I know.
Yeah,
of her.
she teaches a lot of I think like memoir oriented classes, but she has a whole journaling system where you set out your intention, and you ask for guidance, and you do that, or she does that through tarot cards. So she flips 2 or 3 tarot cards to get some guidance. And then at the end of her writing session, she sort of writes what she did, right? So she has her intention, her guidance, and then what she did. I think there's actually some other steps too. I found that incredibly helpful. All 3 of those things, I would say, I found incredibly helpful, just to sort of stay on track and think to yourself, okay, I'm making progress, right? Because novels are so big and long and daunting. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere, but really you are. And if you write it down, all the better, right? Because then you can cheer yourself on a little bit.
Yeah. And there's still that feeling too of looking up and then finally it's done. Like it takes so long. It's so incremental, but there's always that feeling of like looking back and it's done. It's like, when the hell did this happen?
Yeah, when did it happen? And if you spreadsheet it, you know exactly what happened, right? You're like, oh, it happened from February 4th to 19th, and then not at all for 2 months. And then it happened again. Yeah, right. I know. It's such a mystery. All of it is such a mystery. I truly can't believe anybody can do it. And I can't believe anybody does it, honestly. But it does feel good when it's done.
Yeah, it does. It's almost surreal. It's almost surreal. So real quick, I just want to remind the audience that questions go in the Q&A tab, right? There's a specific tab for questions.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get to it in a little bit. We're going to get to, because I still have a couple questions. I'm being selfish now and taking this time. No, I'm just kidding. But I see some already coming up, so don't forget to put those in the Q&A tab. So back to the book real quick, because someone actually just asked a question that I was gonna ask, but still put it in the Q&A. So it's a little bit different. Which character's point of view was your favorite to write? Because there's 3 points of view in the book. There's Sydney or Sid, there's Rain, and then there's Brie.
Yeah. I loved writing Rain because Rain has the opposite problems that I experienced in high school. It was really thrilling to write her and get to know her and get to know her mom, who's kind of a big character, who's a really flamboyant character. So Rain is extremely beautiful and extremely confident and blasé about her body and her ability to attract interest based on her looks. That is not the part of Rain's life that she worries about. The part of Rain's life that is very hard for her. Well, there's a lot of parts that are hard for her, but she really struggles in school. She has learning disability. She has had, more, her mom has been called more times than maybe anyone at the school growing up. And she really has a chip on her shoulder about the rest of the people at school. She's kind of been branded as maybe a little bit slow, a little bit not as good, or this is the chip on her shoulder, at least, that she believes. So I loved writing Rain's point of view. I also loved writing Brie's point of view. We don't spend as much time with her, but Brie is a girl who seems to have everything going for her in terms of her looks, her popularity, her she's on the student body council. She's she runs track. She manages her grades. She's a top student. She's one of those type A people who looks on the surface like everything is going well, and inside she's very empty and very lost. So I had a lot of fun with her too. Those were the two most surprising characters. Sid is like our every woman. She gets the most time in the book. She's the one kind of left behind. And it was fun writing her too. It was fun exploring the relationship with her brother, who has recently gone to jail and now gotten out. And yeah, I like them all, but I think I have a soft spot for Rain.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for all of them for different reasons. So which brings me to my next question, which is, if you had the chance to write another point of view, so a character, like a side character, which one would you?
Oh, a side character. Wow. Anya would be really fun. Or Deirdre. These are some of the girls who are close to Brie, who look also like they really have it all together and really don't. Maybe Chase, our skateboarding boy, who's very sweet and cute. Actually, I'd probably like a whole book about Spider too. Spider is the brother who has recently come back and put on 20 pounds after being in jail. And he's trying to sort of make his way in the world again and figure out who he is. He's really young to have already gone to jail. He would be really interesting too.
Yeah, that's who I would choose.
Spider. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite characters for sure.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Happy. He's named after someone's brother who is in our Zoom tonight, I think. Yeah, that's a name I picked from real life that I got permission for.
Oh, you did get permission. Oh, good.
Just the name. Yeah, I don't know this person actually very well. I know his sister very well.
Yeah, I still feel like you gotta ask. Like, I've asked about dumb shit too. Like like little pet names. Yeah. It's like, but you gotta cover your bases, because you never know how people are gonna react.
You never know.
Not that we should care that much, but okay. So last question, and then we're gonna get to the Q&A. So are you at liberty to talk about what you're working on next?
Sure, I would love to. So I'm doing my gamifying and my songifying and the whole spiel for a new book. I'm almost done with the first draft. I'm really surprised that I'm not done because it's 110,000 words now, which is really long, but it's really getting there. It's 4 points of view. Maybe that's why it's so long. It's set in a Brooklyn brownstone. And it's about two couples. One are the renters and one are the brand new owners of this brownstone. They both have kids and they get really unhealthily enmeshed with each other. They start to lose their boundaries, which probably isn't a great idea. And there's a third wildcard couple who comes into the mix and destabilizes everybody. And it's also a mystery thriller.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm finally writing a book set in Brooklyn where I've lived for a very long time. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know, because I don't know who all in the chat has read the book, but I know, having just read All the Best Liars, that you can write enmeshment very well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you saw enmeshment here. Yeah, I would say it's a big part of this book too. That's true.
Teenage girls, it's teenage friendships. There's always going to be a little bit of that. Yeah,
they are the great loves of each other's lives until they're not. And I think in so many ways that's more painful than any breakup.
Yeah, I definitely felt that in one of the first few chapters when Sid is texting Rain over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I was like, oh, it's just like a relationship. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
On bringing this book into the world. We're going to head to the Q&A. And Okay, so there's 3 questions in here.
Oh,
So this is slightly different than the question I just asked. I'm still going to ask it in case you want to give us a little more. But so Naomi asks, do you have a favorite character or one that you identify with more than the others? No spoilers.
I think that I'm gonna move the Q&A over. It was blocking us. I identify the most with Sid for sure. Sid is shy and awkward and not really very confident when it comes to boys or really much of anything, except she's pretty good at school. And that's sort of her calm, happy place. And that's a lot how very similar to how I felt in high school, that the school part was kind of the only part that made a little bit of sense to me. Yeah.
All right.
Great question, Neo.
Yeah. The next question. Oh, I'm losing. Answered. Sorry. I've never
answered it. I love it.
Hold on.
Type answer. We're not going to type it.
No. I'm just going to wing this. I love this question. Who would you cast? Laura Sims asks, who would you cast in the roles of the 3 main characters for the film TV adaptation?
Laura, that's the greatest question ever. I haven't thought about it very much. What an incredible thing to think about. Let's see. I am drawing a total. I'm thinking of people who are too old, which is not okay. Trying to think of who played the younger people in Yellow Jackets. Maybe the girl who gets really spiritual in Yellow Jackets. I don't know her name, but I love her so much. The brunette. Oh, you haven't seen it. So she could be Rain. We need like a young Reese Witherspoon for Brie, whoever that is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, gosh. And then for Sid, golly, now I'm thinking about Euphoria. Maybe Cat from Euphoria could do it. I would be very happy about that. Although she's probably almost 30 now.
Wait, which one is Cat?
The one who wears the cat mask in her special videos.
Would play Sydney?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think she could. I
like her. What's her name? Barbie Ferreira, I think.
Yes, that's who it is.
I don't even watch. I should watch Euphoria, but it's actually really similar to my book.
Is it? Euphoria is yeah, it's really good. It's very upsetting. Very, very upsetting. But I really, really enjoyed it. I can't wait to read your book. I haven't read it yet. Laura, that's such a good question. I'm gonna have to get back to you.
That's a great question. I would have accepted celebrities of any age because you know, yeah, I like the young Reese Witherspoon. I could totally see that. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, Marie Helene asks, did any part of writing All the Best Liars change you?
Thank you. What a great question, Marie. I don't want to give any spoilers, but a character toward the end of the book goes on a trip. And I was super moved by her trip and by the place that she finds herself in. I cried at certain points writing it. She's really boxed herself into a corner, and there is not a lot of hope for her at the point that she goes on this trip. And one, it was wonderful to kind of get out of the little hot house of Palm Springs, where we have been the whole book, Palm Springs area. Just to drive somewhere was really kind of cathartic and felt really exciting to write. But also, yeah, there's sort of just a destroyed person that we're left with at the end of the book. And I do feel a little bit changed by writing that. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
That is a great question. All right. So for a twisty, turny novel, Jennifer Stone asks, do you know about the last twist from the beginning? Do you need to know when you start, or can you figure out how to weave it in later?
Well, Jen, thank you. That's a great question. In this book, the twisty turny thing that happens at the end, I did always know, but then I had to change it. It just was not working for various reasons. So it was important to know it when I revised it. The way that I wrote this particular book, was with an outline, because it was my first mystery, because I just couldn't seat of the pants it. I did kind of know all along what I wanted to happen. In the new book that I'm writing, which also has a death at the end that's alluded to at the beginning, I thought I knew the whole way through who was going to do the killing and who was going to do the dying. And now I'm in the final scene, and I am beside myself, because I don't want the person that I thought I wanted to die, and I don't want the person that I thought I wanted to be the killer. And it turns out that I've written it in such a way that I think I can switch it up. So probably it's a better idea to know, but it's also exciting not to know, if you can handle it.
Interesting. Okay, that makes me not want to write mysteries ever.
They are, like, it's a trade-off. Like, on the one hand, they pull the reader through, right? There's really clear tension from the get-go, and then on the other hand, it is this puzzle that you have to piece together, and sometimes the pieces don't fit, and then you're just kind of, well, what is this?
And then you have to ask the tarot.
Then you have to go to the tarot, and you have to draw cards. That's right, Fran. That's what I'm doing right now for my new book. Please help me find a new victim right away. I can't kill the one that I love so much.
You know, I saw a TikTok video where this like witchy writer was talking about how she channels the characters, because somewhere in like reality they exist. So she like channels the characters and brings it down to the page.
I love that. Would that all our characters talk to us like that? Right. That would be amazing. That would be incredible.
That would be, yes.
Oh, we have a good question
from
Alex. Should I answer the Alex question, and then maybe I could do Naomi's real quick. Alex asks, as the mom of a tween or teen now, do you ask your kiddo for insight, material, advice on your YA writing? I don't know. He's in the other room right now, watching on a phone to not use our Wi-Fi. I should ask him if I've ever asked him questions. I relied really heavily on, I have been teaching college freshmen for maybe 15 years. So I always have 18-year-olds at hand. And I do observe them. And I do really think that having them around has helped me a lot. Yes, I think you can ask your teen or tween anything, any questions at all, why not? But in my case, my son was 11, 12 when I was finishing the book, and the characters are 17. So it wasn't a perfect one-to-one.
All right, so last question is, what books are you, well, it's a two-parter, but it's already been answered, part of it. So one is, what books are you reading right now and loving right now? And are you working on a new project? I guess, are you working on anything besides the novel you described? And yeah, if so.
I am putting off killing my beloved character by trying to finish the middle of a short story that is kind of based on the war that we are in with our downstairs neighbors. We live in an apartment. So that's been a really fun distraction. Yes, there are always books that I'm reading and loving. Some of them, you may see your own book. Some people here may see their own book right here. Right now I'm finishing on audio Mike Nichols' A Life, which is nonfiction, about the director Mike Nichols, who directed The Graduate and a number of other things. And it's just the most inspiring book and story ever. He had so many creative failures and so many enormous creative successes. I'm just finding it so beautiful. It's 21 hours of entertainment that I never want to end. I'm in the final hour. I recently read a book called Dial A for Aunties, which is a sort of a light, cozy mystery about a family of wedding planners who has to hide a body. It's by Jessie Q. Sutanto. She has a new book coming out. It's so fantastic. It's going to be a movie or a TV show pretty soon. I highly, highly recommend that. I love a book called Sadie by Courtney Summers, somewhere back here. Do you know?
I have it. I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sort of YA crossover adult. We follow a character who's really down on her luck, who's going to sort of avenge a wrong that has happened in her life. And at the same time, there's a podcast host who's trying to follow her too. So it alternates chapters between podcast script and the actual character. The character has a really bad stutter. It's a wonderful, wonderful book for those of us who maybe don't always read YA. It's technically, I guess, billed as YA, but so deep and profound. So those are three that I'd recommend. But yeah.
Oh, wow. Zendaya. Sorry, I was just reading the chat. Apart from Zendaya, yeah, Zendaya could definitely be in the all the best
sellers. Sure, I would love. Yes, let's do it. That would be amazing.
She's gonna have to be in my movie. No, I'm just kidding. So last question is: do I have to wait from Catherine? Do I have to wait to let my 10-year-old daughter read this book? Please say no. I have a 10-year-old daughter. I would let her read this.
What do you think? Would you have your 10-year-old read it, Fran? It's kind of on the edge.
I would.
You would? Okay. If Francesca would, I say I trust her. You know, she has a 10-year-old daughter. My 11-year-old niece is going to read it very soon, but she watches pretty adult programming. So it might depend on how you feel. But yeah, I think 12, 13, 14, no problem.
I mean, there's Stranger Things is a thing that they're watching. You know what I'm saying?
Right. If you're okay with a little bit of, I guess there's a little bit of substance use in the book. That's as risque as it gets. Yeah, so you'd have to be okay with that. See what you think. Take a look first. I mean, it's meant to be upper YA, which I guess is for high school, but yeah. Ezra, my son, is currently reading it, and he doesn't read anything, so he's enjoying it.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I think that's it. Those are all of the questions.
Thank you all so much for coming today. This just meant the world to me and means the world to me. I wish I could see all your faces, but I feel you there. And thanks for being so supportive of this book. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Lindsey. Thank you, Stephanie.
Congratulations, Amelia. And Amelia is going to come sign books. So if you want to order one, you can put a note in the comments and she'll write it. She'll write a note back to you in your book. Thanks for everyone for coming out tonight. And thanks, Lindsey, for your cocktail. Thanks, Fran, for your probing questions. And we hope to see you again soon in person or on Zoom.
Thanks, everybody. I hope to sign your books soon, and I hope to see you soon in real life. I appreciate you coming and spending the hour with me. Take care.
Bye. Congratulations, Amelia.
Bye.